Evet efendim, teşekkür ediyoruz. Uluslararası Yatırımcılar Derneği'nin yatırım ortamına yönelik kısa filmini izledik. Emeği geçenlere huzurlarınızda bir kez daha teşekkür ediyoruz. Kıymetli hanımefendiler, kıymetli beyefendiler, Türkiye Sermaye Piyasaları Kongresi 2017 ilk gün öğleden sonraki oturumlarla devam ediyor. Yine birbirinden değerli alanlarında uzman kişileri ağırlamaya devam edeceğiz. Bilgi ve tecrübelerinden sonuna kadar istifade edeceğiz efendim. Büyümek için kaynak gerek, doğrudan yabancı sermaye yatırımları başlıklı panelimizle devam ediyoruz. Panelimizin konu başlıklarını doğrudan yabancı sermaye yatırımları açısından Türkiye'nin vaat ettikleri, yatırım yapanların tercih nedeni ve beklentileri, büyüme açısından FDI'ın önemi oluşturuyor. Panelimizin moderatörü YASED, Uluslararası Yatırımcılar Derneği Genel Sekreteri Sayın ÖZLEM. Buyurun efendim. Kocaman bir alkış bekliyoruz ama. Hoş geldiniz. Hoş geldiniz. Ve şimdi enerjimizi her zaman yüksek tutmalıyız ki o enerji de sizde var. Bu sahneye sirayet etsin değerli konuklarımız. Anlayışınız için teşekkür ediyorum ve panelimizin birbirinden değerli konuşmacıları. Unilever Türkiye, Orta Asya ve İran Yönetim Kurulu Başkanı Sayın GOOSSENS. Buyurun lütfen. Welcome. Merhabalar. Devam ediyoruz. Türkiye Garanti Bankası Yönetim Kurulu üyesi Sayın Javier Bernal Dionis. Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Başbakanlık Türkiye Yatırım Destek ve Tanıtım Ajansı Baş Proje Direktörü Sayın NECMETTİN Kaymaz. Buyurun efendim. Hoş geldiniz. Ve son olarak Kına Genel Müdürü Sayın Zafer Sönmez. Buyurun efendim. Zafer Bey, siz de hoş geldiniz efendim. Ve ben izninizle sözü panelimizin moderatörü Sayın ÖZLEM'e bırakıyorum. Buyurun efendim.
Dear guests, I welcome you all in the name of our board, YASED board, and our valuable guests. In this panel, during which we will be discussing the contributions of direct international investments to Turkey's economic growth, we come together with highly distinguished senior executives of international companies operating in Turkey, and of course our country's very own promotion agency SPOT. So I would like to thank you all for your participation and contributions. Our panelists will share their valuable views on what Turkey promises for international direct investments, motivations, expectations of the investors mainly, and the importance of FDI to Turkish economic growth. But before we proceed with our panel, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you our views as YASED, International Investors Association of Turkey, on the investment and business climate and on the contributions of FDI to our country. I would like to share a recent study that we have accomplished. According to the study, the direct international investments made in Turkey in the past decade, so for the last 10 years, provided a contribution of $84 billion above GDP per year. So the investments of international investors in this country for the last 10 years provided $84 billion per year, yearly. And this economic contribution comprises 10% of last year's GDP and 19% of GDP growth per year. So these are really very important contributions. And additionally, if you look at with regard to employment, which is again very important, those investments during the last 10 years have met 36% of employment increase and have provided job opportunities for 2 million people, again during this period. So as the numbers clearly reflect, the contributions of international investments and the significance they have in each and every country make the perpetual improvement of the investment climate compulsory. So for this reason, at YASED as well, our most important goal is that our investors do business and make their investments efficiently, more efficiently than those in other countries, and make reinvestments, further reinvestments in our country, because we believe that the international investors are the best, the already existing international investors are the best reference for the newcomers. So if we make them happy with their and satisfied with their investments, eventually the others will follow. Of course, NECMETTİN Bey will give us more information about this. He's very close to potential investors in our country to come. In order to achieve this, with every opportunity we get as YASED, we highlight the importance of a few factors. What are they? The improvement of human capital and the quality of labor force, focusing on added value production, export and technology transfer. We believe these are key issues for Turkey to improve. And of course, we heavily work with our government for these issues, and we take it with contentment that our government have prioritized these topics in their long-term agendas as well. And one last thing is, during our visits abroad or locally, we mostly face the question, why would an investor choose Turkey? What makes Turkey different? We answer this question with a clear conscience, actually. With consistent economic policies that are subject to strict financial discipline, Turkey's financial sector, we believe, proved its resistance and resilience, of course, against many global economic crises. We lived many of them, and we know that our financial sector is and the banking sector in particular, is very resilient. Our economic success, of course, offers a comfortable investment environment for foreigners. And as an element of difference, due to our geographic location, Turkey is a powerful and cost-effective starting point to major markets by acting as a natural bridge between East and West and North and South. Thus, it offers easy access to 1.5 billion customers in Europe, Eurasia, Middle East, and North Africa. I think this is very important, Turkey's geographical advantage. And compared to EU, we have the most crowded, dynamic, multicultural, educated, and highly motivated young population, over 27 million people. We know that our country is a bridge between political, economic, geographical, cultural, and social points of view. And our country's strategic geographical location enables companies in Turkey to reach the surrounding regions very easily. As our Minister of Economy mainly over and over says, we can reach to 41 countries from Turkey in 4 hours flight. I think this is very unique. So this, of course, gives us an ability and an opportunity to position our country as a regional hub as well. And we, as YASED, give a lot of importance to this topic. We believe that our country has a great potential to be a management hub, services hub, R&D, and production hub. So, distinguished guests, what we aim to achieve here is to receive the thoughts of our panelists and views of our panelists in 2 rounds. So, in the first round, we would like to have a general overview of our speakers' thoughts regarding their recent investments realized in Turkey, because they all have very valuable investments in our country. Also a hinge of general view of the investment environment from our promotion agency, İSPAT. In the second round, we would like to receive their views regarding mainly Turkey's positioning and our potential to be positioned as a regional hub. Now I would like to proceed with the panel by first inviting NECMETTİN Bey from İSPAT to give us a 5-minute presentation, and then we will proceed with questions to our guests. And I would like to remind our panelists again that for each question we will have approximately 5 to 6 minutes, and I appreciate if you can stick to it. So please, you can proceed, NECMETTİN Bey.
Thank you. So don't get excited. I just get up, but
Yeah, sure.
I'm not a good TED talker, so especially after a beautiful lady with beautiful speech and representing a beautiful organization for us that we are trying to attract foreign direct investment, my presentation usually takes 2 hours, so I'm going to squeeze that in 5 minutes. Let's see how successful I am going to be. There are at least 10 reasons to invest in Turkey, as distinguished panelists have been investing in Turkey for various reasons. The economy, the domestic market, strategic location, labor skills, as ÖZLEM has been talking about, the favorable demographic, and the reform government's approach to foreign direct investment, which is very important. The investment climate overall, how open we are to foreign investment, how we welcome foreign direct investment, incentives, of course, the R&D ecosystem, and so on. And of course, specific opportunities in a diversified economy with diversified industries in many, many areas. And as I said, the economy has been robustly growing over the past 14 years, more than 5% Turkey's annual real GDP growth. And this growth momentum is set to continue over the next couple of years, and especially in the current situation, right after the 2016, when we have tough times, Turkish economy has once again proven resilient, as you can see, starting from the fourth quarter of 2016, which has continued in the first and second quarter of 2017. And as a result of this, of course, economic growth, Turkey has risen from 18 ranking in 18 to 13th largest economy globally in terms of GDP at purchasing power parity. When we look at the growth dynamic, we will see Turkish economy is driven by a robust domestic market, an entrepreneurial spirit of private sector, which is spurring investment, and also export opportunities. And as a result of this economic development and growth, we have seen the social and economic conditions of society has significantly changed. We have seen a booming middle class, which is key to any developing country, which is the backbone of any economy, and which is also at the main consumer base for any investors. And you see the result, how it has increased the purchasing power of the society, which is reflected in key dimensions, as you can see in the slide. And then this economic domestic market is not just confined to Istanbul. As we will see, there are more than, we are seeing right now, emerging urban centers across Turkey. There are more than 20 urban centers with population over 1 million. And we know we have distinguished panelists here. They have been investing across Turkey. They have been relocating their factories in Konya, for example, Unilever. And we see opportunities are spread all around Turkey. It's not only the domestic market, it's also the regional market. We have free access to the EU market, as we have custom union with the EU. We also have free trade agreement with some 27 countries. That means you can easily access those countries. Overall, we have an 80 million population in Turkey, and in the end, you have access almost 1 billion consumer base from Turkey. And the strategic location, as Özlem Hanım has talked about, is companies are using Turkey as a regional hub. As you can see, Turkey is conveniently connected with the rest of region, with the major markets in the region. And you look at you can easily access to rich markets in Europe, as well as emerging market in North Africa and Middle East, and as well as in Central Asia. Time-wise, you will see Turkey is quite convenient to follow major markets from Tokyo to New York. And Turkish Airlines, of course, connecting to you more than 240 destinations in more than 110 countries. And the result, as you can see, they're not just promotional statements. And as you can see, the result, many multinational companies are already using Turkey as a manufacturing base, as well as a regional hub for their operations in the region. And favorable demographic, half of population is under 30, which is quite an attractive demographic to invest in. And as you can see, this trend, this young population, the trend is set to continue over the next 2-3 decades. And another, of course, important aspect, factor which is attracting foreign direct is the labor force. As the skills you need, you're based in Tokyo, you're based in New York or Amsterdam or London, you have to have qualified people to run your business here, like Zafer Bey, and if you have good qualified managers, competent managers to run your business here, to watch your interest and to grow your business, of course. Here you can see Turkey has significantly changed its labor force structure with heavily investing in education, as you can see, and you can almost find the necessary skills we are looking for your business operations in Turkey. And reform. It is a continuous process in Turkey. It's not a one-time of policy. We do reform, let's say, and then we lean back. No, that's not the case. As you can see, we have started reforms. We have embarked on a comprehensive reform program since early 2000s, and it has continued today. And as you can see, very recently we have introduced new laws, and very important for foreign investors like yourself, such as intellectual property law, and very recently labor court laws, and so on and so on. And the result, of course, speaks itself, how it has improved Turkey's investment climate, as you can see from the slides. And of course, Turkey is also a very liberal and a very open country in terms of its investment legislation. We have an exclusive foreign direct investment law which provides certain guarantees for foreign investors. You're equally treated in Turkey. Once you invest in Turkey, your company is deemed as a local company, so you can equally benefit from all opportunities in Turkey. And also your investments are protected through bilateral investment protection and promotion treaties. And also you have treaties to avoid double taxation. And of course, incentives in many areas, in manufacturing, in employment, in R&D, and so on and so on. So it makes all attractive to invest in Turkey. I don't want to go in detail, but there are plenty of packages, incentive packages, and investors have the ability to benefit from one of them. And the R&D ecosystem, especially for high-tech manufacturing, which we are trying to attract for our economic development, as you can see, in recent years, it has significantly changed the ecosystem, as you can see, by heavily investing in education. Look at the number of researchers. Back in 2006, Turkey was lagging behind Poland and other countries, and since then it has skyrocketing, and then again, R&D expenditures have been increasing, and we see many multinational companies conducting research and development activities in Turkey, such as Unilever and other multinational companies. And diversified sectors, Turkey has a significant competitive positions globally, competitive position in many sectors, in automotive as the 14th largest auto manufacturer, in electrical machinery, in aerospace and defense, in energy, in financial services, and so on, in food and beverage, of course, and many other sectors. And the result, as you know, it's my job to promote Turkey, to talk about good and attractive aspects of Turkey, but it's up to the investors whether or not they buy what Turkey is offering. And the result speaks itself. Over the past 14 years, Turkey has attracted 180 billion foreign direct investment. That might be still less than what we should attract, but still when we compare with the previous 8th decade in which Turkey only attracted 15 billion foreign direct investment. And we look at the number of companies, foreign companies, how they have been mushrooming in Turkey from less than 6,000 back in early 2000s, now more than 50,000 foreign companies active in Turkey. And what's going on right now? In 2017, we see the confidence is here, and it continues, especially from existing investors, but also newcomers. We have recently announced an investment from Austria, Hamburger Container, which is a $300 million investment. Then we have energy projects, renewable energy projects, as you have been following in media. Siemens was one of the bidders, and then Unilever has recently inaugurated its 350 million euro investment in Konya. We are very grateful for your investment in Turkey, sir. And again, Korean Hanwha was also a part of consortium to bid for a renewable energy project. Again, another company, BBVA, has increased its stake in Turkey as as an indicator of their solid confidence in Turkish economy, with almost $1 billion in investing in Guarantee Bank. And then we have BRF from Brazil, which acquired a local company. And very recently, we have IFM Investors, which acquired 40% of port, Mersin International Port, with again around $900 million. That indicates the confidence here, and foreign investors are still interested in Turkey, and Turkey has a story to sell in terms of foreign direct investment. As for my organizations, I don't want to go in detail, but once Ronald Reagan said that there are the most terrifying 9 words in English are that I am from the government and I'm here to help you. It's maybe not most terrifying for us, but most beautiful words for us. I am from the government and I'm here to help foreign investors. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, Necmettin Bey, for this great presentation. And now I would like to proceed with our first guest, Zafer Bey. Over the last few years, we know that you have made a lot of investments in Turkey in many different industries, primarily healthcare, hospitals, and airport sectors. To Acıbadem Sağlık ve Hayat Sigorta AŞ, to Acıbadem Hospitals. And your investee company, Malaysia Airport Holding, is also part of a consortium which operates Istanbul Sabiha Gökçen Airport. So these are really great big investments. And can you please share your thoughts and behind these decisions, and elaborate your views regarding the expectations of your group before choosing these investment opportunities in Turkey?
Çok teşekkürler Özlem Hanım. Actually, I will start with an unconventional, let's say, approach. I was in Ethiopia last week, and when I listen them, I think there's nothing differentiating Turkey versus Ethiopia. But the key of the fact is that we have to establish relationship, and we have to understand how the institutional investor works. And we need to understand how this giant, let's say, organizations invest. Therefore, I will use a micro approach to tell rather than a macro point of view. But before starting that, actually, taking a step back, I will touch base on 2 things. First of all, what does kazana mean? Everybody asks me. So actually it's a Turkish and Arabic thing, hazine. Kazana national is national hazine, milli hazine. So that everyone will remember this. The other one is Malaysia Airports owns 100% of Sabiha Gökçen, so we are not part of a consortium anymore. When I look into actually Kazana history, it started in 2003 with the strategy of coverage of Organization of Islamic Countries, which ended up in $2.6 billion investment by today. So what I mean with the micro perspective, actually, we need to understand how the funneling in a big investment powerhouse works. So, in a nutshell, Kazana reviews 3,000 to 4,000 deals in a year. Out of that, actually, 500 goes into the board process. And when we look into that, actually, 100 of them will be approved somehow in the board, and 20, 30 of them concludes in a deal. So when you look into funnel, this is the funnel we are looking into. And we are not covering South America, but rest of the world we are covering. So that's why I'm saying Turkey has no differentiation in our agenda. However, there are reasons why we are here. But before coming to that, actually, let me draw a comparison between Turkey and Malaysia. Very remarkable things, actually. Turkey, GDP, $850 billion. Malaysia, $300 billion. So the private pension scheme in Turkey is, I checked today before coming to the session, is roughly $20 billion US. Out of 300 billion GDP, Malaysia has 10, but 3 leading funds. Kazana, 40 billion. Employee Provident Fund, 142 billion US dollars. Tabung Haji, that is established for Hajis and pilgrims, is 30 billion. So the key thing is actually, there's a big savings problem in Turkey. We have to break this chain. We have to really break this chain. And when you look into the market cap to GDP ratio, Turkey, we as an office follow this on a daily basis. Let me come to Turkey's figure at the end. Malaysia, market cap to GDP is 133%. So some countries around the region, Saudi, 68, Russia, 46, Poland, 40. Turkey is only 25%. So we should break this change in terms of reliance to, let's say, just only FDI. FDI will come to the market when the market is deep enough. We, as the international investors, we will come. When I look into another perspective, actually, for example, doing business, World Bank rankings, Turkey, 69, Malaysia, 23. Minority investor protection, 57, Turkey, versus Malaysia, 13. Global competitiveness, Turkey is 18, Malaysia is 15. However, as an optimistic individual, I always believe that Turkey has a lot of advantages. And the reasons why we are here, actually, when you look into the things in the region, I was telling to Han, Turkey is the only country that can put things together in this region. That's why foreign investors are coming to Turkey. And when we look into the companies, Kazana companies have this, let's say, strategy. First, becoming national champion, then regional champion, and then global champion. And the reasons why we did our investments actually part of regional and part of global championship strategies. And in Turkey, the good thing is, when you select your partner right, then the sector profit pool should be enough, and then you land on the company. So if you follow this is my rule of thumb, you will end up on the right asset. So for us, we are so lucky, and because we selected the right sectors, in the right country, in the right partnerships, and in the right sectors. Therefore, Kazana has a strong let's say, recognition with the right investments in the country. This is my brief, let's say, summary. But when we look into the specific assets, for example, healthcare, we own the second largest listed healthcare company globally. And Acıbadem acquisition was part of that strategy. Malaysia airports operate 39 out of 40 airports in Malaysia. There's no room for growth. Therefore, they did acquisitions in Turkey. When we look into insurance, similar thing. Part of Pan-Asian growth insurance platform. So we did the acquisition. And the reason why we are here, I think we will touch base on the second round, is the regional and, let's say, hub nature of Turkey in terms of, let's say, proximity and the travel advantages and friendly environment. So we will touch base on these parts in the second section. Thank you.
And Harm, let's proceed with you. As Unilever's Turkey operation, you have realized your biggest investment recently, so we really congratulate you for this. And I guess it is the biggest investment in the last 10 years with the opening of second manufacturing factory in Konya. And you have created with this investment a supply chain ecosystem, as we know. And the investment was worth 350 million euros. So this is really big for Turkey. So could you also please talk about your expectations and preferences beforehand making this decision?
Yeah, I will. So we have a little video, but let's wait a little bit. Let me say a couple of things. It's a little bit of a promotional video. I'm sorry for that, but I thought it would nevertheless be nice to show. But listen, for us, it came up earlier as well, the location of Turkey is perfect, obviously. And so we are a regional hub as well, exporting to all different directions. We'll talk a little bit later about that as well. And why we invest in Turkey is, so I'm here a little bit more than a year, but what I always say is Unilever has been here more than 100 years, and we will be here another 100 years. So we look at it in the longer term. So we invest indeed in the country in terms of facilities like factories like in Konya, but we have 8 factories in the country. We have about 5,000 people, so we invest in people, in advertisement, in factories, as I said, and we will keep on investing. Whatever happens, so my big boss, Paul Polman, was here last year, this year, April, and then he constantly looks at the longer time as well. So that's why we are investing. Let's show the video maybe now, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. It's about our factory in Konya. It's always, so I saw it a couple of times, of course, but I always still feel so proud to see it actually, let alone my Turkish colleagues to see that. So why in Konya? So one, the location is of course perfect. I must say the Konya government really was extremely supportive with all our investment and to help ourselves. So in 2013 we invested about 100 million there on an ice cream factory, now another 350 on the home and personal care factory. And what is really nice about it is that all our suppliers came with us actually. So apart from our factory, many suppliers out of Istanbul came with us, and we created a whole yeah, exactly. So it is really an important investment for us. And from there we export a lot as well. So the long and the short of it is for us, investing in Turkey is a no-brainer, because for the long term we are very confident that this market is of interest and it can be a big hub, and then Konya is perfectly located. So that's actually what I would like to share.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Let's proceed with BBVA, if you like. And our question is for Javier. As BBVA, Spain's second largest bank, with your recent investment, you have become the majority, I may say, the whole owner of Garanti Bank. Could you also talk about your expectations while making this decision, as well as we are also curious how you see the global competitive power of the banking sector in Turkey, and maybe you can elaborate a little about your expectations from the public institutions as well in the finance sector.
Okay, thank you.
As we are with a great crowd of from finance industry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, burada sizinle olmak büyük mutluluk ama Türkçem çok iyi değil. Bu yüzden İngilizce devam ediyorum.
Süper.
Having said that, BBVA, I didn't bring any video, but just I will give you some little data for the ones that you don't know that much about. BBVA is a second largest European zona euro bank. We are established in 35 countries with more than 80 million customers and 170,000 employees. We invest first in Turkey in 2011. Since then, we have invested $9.3 billion. I think we are one of the largest investors in the country. We partnership with Dose Group, as you all know Dose, and we had a very satisfactory, extremely good relation, and we are very satisfied of the investment. I would resume on to three aspects of why we invest in Garanti. First has to do, of course, with the country. Second have to do with the financial sector. And the third have to do with Garanti itself. First, the country, many things have been mentioned already. And from a finance perspective point of view, I would say that as an emerging market, there is a large population, very young. There is no market in Europe with more than 70 million or close to 80 million population, and 40% of the population is unbankarized still. So the opportunities for a large bank are unbelievable. Second, the growth of the economy in the country during the last years. NECMETTIN explained very well. Also, if you compare not only with all developing countries, it is very difficult to find such a track record. Of course, there have been some bad events, some bad years, but we believe very much in the strong economy of Turkey. The third reason related with the country has to do with the culture. We feel very comfortable. We are Mediterranean kind of countries. We understand each other very easy. We work as a one team in a very good understanding. Related with the finance sector, which is extremely important, I would say that what we find in Turkey is a very strong finance sector with a very good regulator. Tough and good regulator. If you work in the finance system, you need the regulators, extremely important, transparency, and what are the rules, and knowing that all banks are following those rules. What we found in Turkey is that the BRSA and the main regulators, maybe because of the 2001 crisis in the financial system, we didn't find any difference compared to the regulators in Frankfurt. We are submit to European community regulators, and also to the Fed in the US, because also we have a big bank in the US. We didn't find many differences. That gives us guarantees of how the rules and the systems work for everybody, and we are really satisfied with that also as well. Related with financial sector, I would say the competitiveness. That's very important. If you invest in a country, you have to find a very competitive market. It's challenging, but it is also important because it makes you strive more and more. Guarantee is a bank which has been striving and doing very well during the last years. And finally, guarantee. Why guarantee? Because we analyze the finance sector, and guarantee is an extraordinary bank in all sense. In terms, first, I wouldn't go to the financials. I will go last. This is what we usually do as investor. But first, the talent of the people. We found a very well-managed bank. In fact, I have to say that the top management of Guarantee is the same that we found when we get to the bank, when we start investing in the bank. All executive committee members are Turkish, and all subsidiaries of the bank are run by Turkish managers. The second thing related with talent, I approve of that we believe in the talent of the people, is that very recently we appoint the head of retail of Guarantee as CEO of BBVA Compass, which is our franchise in the US. It's a very large bank, third largest bank in Texas. The second thing has to do with the technology. Guarantee Bank is very advanced in terms of technology, not only in Europe, in Turkey, but also in Europe and in the world. A few years ago was awarded as the best mobile application in the world. It's still on the top best mobile applications, and also improving continuously. The Guarantee Bank is an old bank, but the merge of the three banks that became the actual Guarantee Bank was by the end of last century. That means that the platforms, technology platforms, are very new, very different to most banks, including BBVA or large Dutch or English or French banks, that we have platforms built on a silos. The platform of Guarantee was built for a single platform with a customer in the center. This is a big advantage, and it's another important reason that we invest. And the last one, and of course, is all the fundamentals, financial fundamentals. BBVA Guarantee had a very strong P&L the last years, very good profits, very good management of the margins, cost, provisions, risk, approach, everything. It is very well managed, and it for us was a great guarantee. That's why we invest, and of course we are very satisfied of the investment, and in fact we will be willing to invest even more in the next future.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, maybe I can continue with you, Javier, because my second question would be, because it's very related to what you have just told. Guarantee is a very successful bank, and how was the alignment process of such a bank with a very big group like BBVA?
That's it was challenging. We started to do the alignment process some years ago. Of course, we saw Guarantee, it's more than 20,000 employees. We understood in the very beginning that we should do like a jointly process. That couldn't be that a big bank is trying to implement their strategies, no way. So we create a team with the CEO of Guarantee and CEO of BBVA and very few people, and we start working with all the units, trying to understand how we were managing the bank in terms of every single unit, in terms of targets, vision, methodologies, tools, platforms, and we compare how we were doing it, and then we try to find out the gaps. And the process was very smooth. It took us work like 1.5 years. I could tell you that we are totally integrated now. All the functional areas have double report with Madrid and headquarters in Istanbul, and business is completely autonomous. And it was a great process, mainly because of we had a very similar structures, and also because of the people and the approach of the people. It was absolutely great. I think some investors, when come to a country like Turkey, and they don't know much about the country, they are afraid of what are they going to find, how are you going to understand language. Of course, it's an issue. So that maybe it brings some kind of doubts to the investors. I would tell that not at all. I mean, when you work, of course, we all have to work in English. It's not our mother language for any one of us, but it is, understanding is extremely easy, and the openings of the Turkish team and Spanish in this case, it was very good. So it was a very good process, the alignment process, I would say.
It was a very tough business, probably, but...
Tough, but no, I ran this thing during 1 year, living still in Spain, before I moved, and I was coming every month, of course. We thought it was going to be tough, difficult. No, really. We didn't found some executives of Guarantee are here, they could tell. We didn't found, we made teams in every single unit. We understand, we learn, we listen, of course, both sides. We are exporting many practices from Guarantee and bringing practices, of course, because this is what you have to do. If you come to a country trying to show how good you are, then you, of course, you are dead. And we had a lot to learn from Guarantee, and I still have a lot to learn from Guarantee.
Thank you. Congratulations
Pleasure.
again.
Thank you.
Necmettin Bey, what would your remarks be or your thoughts about the investment climate currently in Turkey, and maybe as you deal with a lot of new investors who are willing to invest in Turkey or who are planning to invest in Turkey, you know best what they ask you first or what they demand from the public authorities, because, I mean, as we all know, FDI is in a competition all around the world to find its direction. It can come to Turkey, it can go to other competitive countries. So what do you think Turkey should improve the most to increase its competitive power in the region or globally as well?
Definitely. I mean, as you said in your introduction as well as in your video, there is a fierce competition. I mean, and as I said in my presentation, reform from Turkey is a continuous process. Yes, we had implemented comprehensive structural reforms in many areas. We have significantly improved our investment climate, but we have never, said it's enough. As in a continuous process, competition is there, and we should be vigilant, and we should be always. We should always keep abreast of developments to stay competitive internationally. I don't want to go in specific details, but long-term investment, foreign direct investment, and it's by nature, it's long-term. And so by nature, it's long-term, and we have been meeting them. We have been in talk with many investors. Now, there are a couple of projects in the pipeline which are not announced yet, but once they're announced, we will share with you. And of course, they ask many questions, but they're mainly practical questions, how to speed up the process, how to make it easy and to take decision as soon as possible. It's not always up to the government or the host country. Sometimes it's a decision by the headquarters. As I said, it's by nature long-term, so decision-making is also long-term. It takes time, It doesn't come overnight, and it doesn't leave overnight, so it takes a long time. But as I said, reform is that competition is fierce, and we are always in a process of improving our investment climate. And thanks to your feedback, and especially as an organization that you have been conveying to the government as well as to our agency, and we are welcoming such feedback, and this is actually one of the factors which is contributing to the improving investment climate in Turkey. I mean, as I said, they're mainly asking practical questions: how to speed up, how to expedite the process, and facilitate the investment in Turkey, especially for the greenfield investments. When it's from scratch, so you have to go through many regulations. It's the nature of this investment. It's not specific to Turkey. It's in many other countries. It takes time, When it's an M&A, of course, it's based. It's just it's up to parties. When they agree, they just go ahead. But when it's from scratch, I remember, Unilever announced its investment in Konya a couple of years ago, and they just inaugurated in May. So it takes time. And of course, when they are implementing those greenfield investments, they are, of course, encountering some challenges, and we are there just to overcome such challenges or obstacles, if there are any.
Yeah, no, Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Zafer Bey, according to a study we conducted, when looking at the best practices around the world, it's noted that the countries which succeed in becoming a regional hub also succeeded in increasing the global competitiveness, its global competitiveness in a specific sector, industry. Actually, you have also mentioned this issue in your first speech, that you have investments in health and insurance in other parts of the world as well. So focusing on some primary businesses. As far as we know, you have opened your 4th office in Turkey, right after
San Francisco.
what? Sorry?
San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco, Mumbai, and Beijing. And in this regard, can you expand your views on Turkey as being a regional hub, the capacity, your plans to be a regional hub here?
Kazana truly believes in the financial center initiative of Turkey. So this is one of the key reasons why we established the office here. And we put our name as Kazana Turkey Regional Office.
Regional office.
Regional, we mentioned in the title, deliberately and intentionally because of few reasons. First is supporting the government's agenda for Istanbul becoming a financial hub. Second, given our investments in the region, we are managing above $3 billion of assets through Istanbul office, and we have investments in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, UAE, Dubai, in Africa, in Turkey. And that is another reason why we established here. The other practical reason is actually heart-to-heart, emotions to emotions. We find ourselves closer to Turkey. We have Turkish nationals, but we have expats as well. This is one thing I really want to emphasize. So we are an office of 13 people managing $3 billion of assets in excess of. So we need maybe tens, hundreds of our type of offices in Turkey. So when you come to our office, our tea lady speaks English. We gave English lessons because she has to catch up with the team. So that is how we should really promote the diversity and the, let's say, nimble nature of the offices. So, for example, when we look into multinationals, they have a different setup. But for our type of offices, we have to work within maybe less than 10 people, and it has to be very efficient. Another perspective is the geographic advantage of Istanbul. So with Turkish Airlines, I think all of my team is Elite Plus right now, so they travel a lot. And it's very easy when we also cover, for example, Africa, east to west, best connection is from Istanbul. So that is one of the reasons why we established the office. So when you look into, we operate the airport, therefore I know, for example, on the map, with A380s and Dreamliners, Istanbul is the only city that you can cover all the airports. Yeah. So this is huge advantage for Turkey. And I think these are the things that on a practical daily life, most of the investment houses will consider. For us, it's very important. Our bags are always ready. So we have to travel. If you have a poor connection, then let's say you will have issues in really managing the assets. That is one of the other reasons that we are established here. And it's actually quite efficient for us to be in Istanbul and to work out of Istanbul.
Okay, thank you. And as we started to talk on regional hub issue, how about harm? How about Unilever's plans for positioning Turkey as a regional hub, and specifically maybe FMCG industry potential to become a hub in Turkey?
Yeah.
And maybe you can elaborate Turkey's competitive power in terms of being a hub compared to other neighboring countries around us.
So we are a regional hub as well
Yes.
here in Istanbul.
Yes.
And let me first start with a lot of positive stuff, but I also got a couple of areas where I think Turkey could even improve further. So to start with, and I got the same as you say, Javier, is that Turkey really has it all. So the location is perfect. The connections are very good. And then, as you mentioned, that's what I wanted to say, what you were saying. So, as I said, I'm now here a little bit more than a year. I'm really impressed by the people. So, the English in general is quite good, I find. People are well educated. And then there's an enormous can-do attitude. So, I find, although I'm not from the southern part of Europe as you are, I find it extremely easy to do business with Turkish people. There's a lot of debate, it's a lot of extrovert, but things are happening. So when decisions are being taken, it's happening. And it's very different in other countries around us, and for example in Western Europe. I do find stuff goes much faster, much easier, and much more result-oriented. And also in terms of education, we have in the meantime with Unilever about 150 Turkish people working in Istanbul, in Singapore, in London, in Rotterdam. So they go out and they teach and they learn and they need to come back. So the location is crucial. The way of doing business is, I find, and we find, very easy. Now, I see 4 areas where I think we could even make it better. So the one thing is, of course, the free trade union that we don't have with the Middle East and Africa. It's much easier to do business with Europe. It's still quite difficult to do business with those areas. So that's a very important one. A little bit related to that is the taxes, both on import and on export. So, for example, we do export from Turkey to Africa, but because of the taxes, it is quite expensive. So we could export much more, actually, if we would have different taxes. But it's the same on the import. So we got 2 big ice cream factories in Turkey, and we export quite a lot. But some of our dairy ingredients, there's not enough supply in Turkey. So we get it from Europe, pay big import taxes, produce the ice cream, and export it again to Europe, which makes it very expensive. So there's a big one there as well. Now then the third one for me would be the domestic investment. The more domestic investment in terms of agriculture, in terms of sustainable way of producing stuff, will increase the way we can do business as well. And then the last one, and I know it's a bit sensitive one, but I still want to mention it, a stable environment in terms of rules and regulations is crucial. And that is sometimes difficult, I find, in Turkey, where things from one week to the other can suddenly change. Now, for us being in Turkey already, we just have to cope with it and we find a way of coping with it. But for new companies to come in, that makes it more difficult. Yes. But don't get me wrong, so we are a regional hub. Yep. And as I said here, and it's not just an easy phrase, we've been here 100 years, we'll stay at least another 100 years. So we're very positive about the future. Our business is doing well, and I see huge improvement. If we then can also improve the areas I just touched upon, I think that will make Turkey even stronger than it is already.
Yeah, thank you, Harm. I mean, I agree with you, especially in terms of the tax system. We, as YASED, also believe that our government is very successful in bringing new tax incentives, very competitive tax incentives. Even they are making like tailor-made incentive systems to all the companies, I mean local or international. Yeah. They all want new investments. That's very important. But still we believe that we have, as Turkey, very high direct and indirect taxes compared to our competitive countries. Yeah, exactly. So this is a big issue that we are
this is a very important issue.
Discussing with the government as well. Yeah. Okay. I think we have come to the close of our panel. I would like to wrap up what I have heard from our valuable panelists. First of all, thank you very much for all of you to be here, to participate to this panel and share your valuable insights and views with us. I believe they were all very valuable. But why the international investors choose Turkey? I heard over and over a few words that repeats itself. One is continuous reform system. I think this is both a demand from the investors, but also we appreciate the government to continue its reform agenda, even in difficult periods. So that's one thing. The other is, of course, our country's geographic advantage, logistic advantage, and superior connectivity between the continents. The third one is big and growing market with very young and highly talented population. I guess this is very important. And of course, our country's economic power and economic resilience is also very important. We are one of the countries with the highest growth rate, even during the last 2 years, which were very difficult times for Turkey. So that's really a success, I believe. And of course, being a regional hub, or our country's potential to be positioned as a regional hub by the international investors, I believe it's very important. And again, I am also seeing that more and more international investors, international companies have started to use our country as a hub, either a management hub, production hub, or services, or R&D. I mean, the government has made very good improvements in our R&D law as well, and IPR law. So we have started to attract more R&D, global R&D investments to Turkey. I think those are all very good points to attract more and more investors to Turkey. But of course, we are also, both as the private sector and NGOs, we are also in continuous talks with the government, with our government, to improve what we have. So thank you very much for all of you.
Efendim, biz de siz değerli katılımcılarımıza, konuklarımıza teşekkür ediyoruz. Bilgi ve görüşlerinizi bizlerle paylaştığınız için sizi kısa bir süre daha sahnede misafir etmek isteriz. Bugünün anısına yine bir teşekkür plaket törenimiz olacak. Panelimizin moderatörü ve değerli konuşmacılarımıza teşekkürlerini iletmek üzere Furkan Karakaya'yı Yatırım Tanıtım Hizmetleri Daire Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Furkan Karakaya'yı sahneye davet ediyorum. İlk olarak panelimizin moderatörü YASED, Uluslararası Yatırımcılar Derneği Genel Sekreteri Sayın ÖZYİİT'e teşekkürlerini iletecekler. Ben ivedilikle yine arkadaşlarımdan rica edeyim. Evet, Sermaye Piyasaları Kongresi 2017 ilk gün öğleden sonraki oturumlarıyla devam ediyor. Ardından Unilever Türkiye, Orta Asya ve İran Yönetim Kurulu Başkanı Sayın GOOSSENS'e plaketlerini verecekler. Türkiye Garanti Bankası Yönetim Kurulu üyesi Sayın Javier Bernal Dionis. Teşekkür ediyoruz. Başbakanlık Türkiye Yatırım Destek ve Tanıtım Ajansı Baş Proje Direktörü Sayın NECMETTİN Kaymaz. Ve Kınazana Genel Müdürü Sayın Zafer Sönmez. Hadi gelin bu güzel anı bir kez daha ölümsüzleştirelim. Aile fotoğrafıyla. Evet Furkan Bey, sizi de ortaya alalım. Bu güzel anı ölümsüzleştirelim aile fotoğrafıyla. Teşekkür ediyoruz. Vakit nakittir diyeceğiz. 15 dakika çay kahve molasını 10 dakikaya indiriyorum. Sizin de nezaketinize ve samimiyetinize istinaden zamanı etkin ve etkili kullanalım. Günün son paneliyle yine burada birbirinden değerli isimleri ağırlamaya devam edeceğiz.